Nobody enters the kingdom of God by chance. Yet many believe that simply being a good person is enough to earn that place. But is it really so? Why do so many people strive to follow rules, do good, and still feel an emptiness, a distance from something greater? Perhaps the problem lies not in the actions, but in the understanding of what it truly means to live according to God's heart. Have you ever wondered what the kingdom of God actually is? Is it just a distant place, a promise for after death? Or could it be something that begins now within each person who chooses to live with faith and purpose? This question unsettles, provokes, and at the same time opens a path to transformation. Because discovering what the kingdom is and how to enter it changes everything. It changes how you see life, how you relate to others, and above all, it changes your relationship with God Himself. In this video, you'll understand that being chosen is not a matter of luck, but of decision. You'll discover that the kingdom of God begins when the ego gives way to faith, when justice stops being a theory and becomes a daily practice. And the most surprising thing, you'll realize that the door to this kingdom isn't locked, it's open, waiting for those who have the courage to step through. They say the world is lost, but the truth is it has simply strayed from its original purpose. From the beginning, God designed a plan to rescue humanity from the mire of selfishness and violence. It's not about punishment, but an invitation to restoration, a call to live again as He dreamed, in love, respect, and justice. When Jesus came, He didn't just bring beautiful words, He brought a new way of existing. He showed that the kingdom of God is not a distant place, but a possible reality when love overcomes pride and forgiveness triumphs over vengeance. And that's the beauty of divine rescue. God doesn't give up. Even when humanity insists on getting lost, He extends His hand, offering a fresh start. The purpose of this rescue is simple and profound: to restore what was broken, unite what was separated, heal what seemed beyond repair. Every act of kindness, every just choice, is a piece of the kingdom manifesting here and now. This is how the chosen learns, by living faith as a practice, not as mere words. And when the heart grasps this, something shifts. A desire is born to live with meaning, in harmony with the Creator and with others. Living justly isn't about following a rule book, it's about following a heart transformed by God. Jesus made it clear that true justice lies not just in actions, but in intentions. Doing good isn't enough if the heart still seeks recognition or advantage. Being just means acting with sincerity, wanting good simply because it's right, even when no one is watching. True faith produces this kind of character, and those who live this way begin to see the world through the eyes of Christ Himself. But there's a question that lingers. How do we know what's just in such a confusing time, where everything seems relative? The answer lies in seeking the wisdom that comes from above, not from human opinions. When the chosen decides to align their choices with God's will, they start to discern the difference between what's right and what's almost right. Justice then ceases to be a burden and becomes a joy, because acting with integrity becomes natural, not an obligation. And it's at this point that the heart opens to understand the next step in this journey, discovering where this divine wisdom can be found. Not all wisdom comes from books, but all true wisdom comes from God. The people of Israel understood this deeply. To live justly, one had to immerse themselves in the scriptures, listening carefully to the divine voice that echoed within them. Human wisdom shifts with trends and interests, but God's wisdom remains steadfast, like a rock in a storm. Meditating day and night wasn't just reading for the sake of reading. It was letting the Word shape the heart, guiding thoughts, decisions, and daily actions. In this silence before divine truth, faith matures and gains strength. When someone dedicates themselves to seeking this wisdom, something powerful happens. Understanding expands, and life begins to make sense. Suddenly, ancient passages reveal new answers, and what once seemed distant becomes personal. The chosen realizes it's not about memorizing verses, but letting each word transform them. It's a process that requires consistency and humility, rare qualities in a hurried world. But those who learn to hear God in His Word also learn to see His will in every detail of life. And it's from this understanding that the desire to know the origin of this divine story is born. The Torah is not just a set of commandments, it's the living story of a God who chose to walk alongside humanity. In the first 5 books of the Bible, we see the beginning of the Great Restoration plan. God creates, humanity goes astray, and then He chooses a people to reveal His love and justice to the world. Israel becomes the symbol of the partnership between the divine and the human, a reminder that the Creator never abandons what He created. The Torah shows that God doesn't want obedient robots, but hearts willing to live in covenant. This call to covenant is an invitation to participate. God doesn't act alone. He involves humanity in His story. Every law, every narrative is a sign of love and guidance. Even when humanity stumbles, the plan continues, because the purpose is greater than the mistake. The chosen then understands that living according to the Torah is more than following commandments. It's responding to a call. It's realizing that behind every instruction is a father trying to teach his children to walk in righteousness. And it's from this relationship that the foundation of true wisdom arises, which will become even clearer in the laws given on the mountain. On Mount Sinai, heaven touched earth. God, with a voice of thunder and a father's heart, revealed commandments to the Israelites that were not just rules but bridges, paths that connected the divine and the human. Each law carried the desire to see the people live in harmony, caring for one another and recognizing that all life comes from God. The commandments were not a burden, but a compass pointing to the true north, to love God above all and your neighbor as yourself. Those who understand this realize that obedience is freedom, not a prison. Yet, living this covenant required more than words etched in stone. It demanded discernment, sensitivity, and faith. After all, life is full of unexpected situations, and not all were covered in the laws. One had to learn to hear God's heart amid doubts. The chosen discovers, then, that following the commandments is more than obeying orders. It's learning to love as the Creator loves. This understanding opens the door to something even greater, realizing that even when the people failed, God kept His promise alive through the prophets, who became echoes of hope in times of darkness. When Israel strayed from the path, the prophets became the voice calling the people back to God. They didn't speak for convenience, but out of conviction, denouncing injustices, warning kings, and reminding them that the human heart cannot drift from the covenant without consequences. Their words were harsh, but filled with love. Each prophet brought the message that God hadn't given up, even in the face of rebellion and idolatry. Faith, when forgotten, became an invitation to chaos, and the prophets were the cry that reminded, "Return, for there is still time." Despite the failures, hope never died. God promised to restore His partnership with humanity, and that promise endured through generations. The Torah and the prophets together revealed the same purpose: God's justice and love in action. The chosen understands that divine correction is not punishment, but care. When all seems lost, that's precisely where mercy flourishes. And this mercy culminates in the arrival of Jesus, who came not only to recall the law, but to reveal its true meaning, a challenge that would change how the world understands what it means to live according to God's heart. Time had passed and the world was no longer the same as in Moses' day. Under Roman rule, the people of Israel lived torn between preserving their traditions and surviving the pressures of a cruel empire. The ancient laws of the Torah seemed distant from daily life. How could one keep the Sabbath when forced to work? How could one offer sacrifices when the temple was under foreign surveillance? Life had become a blend of faith and resistance, and the people desperately sought to understand what God still expected of them. It was in this context that teachers and interpreters of the law emerged, men who tried to translate the ancient into the new, the eternal into the immediate. They studied, debated, and often disagreed with one another, because real life is full of nuances, and the sacred text required wisdom to apply. The chosen realizes that the challenge wasn't just to follow rules, but to understand the heart behind them. And it's at this point that the stage is set for the arrival of someone who wouldn't bring new laws, but would reveal the true spirit of the old ones, Jesus of Nazareth, the living fulfillment of God's will. Among the teachers trying to guide the people, the scribes and Pharisees stood out. They were dedicated scholars, men of prayer and knowledge, concerned with preserving the purity of the faith. When the Torah said, "Rest on the Sabbath," they sought to define exactly what work meant, creating detailed rules to avoid mistakes. Their intentions in many cases were sincere. They wanted to protect the people from disobedience and keep the covenant with God alive. However, in their zeal for the letter, some forgot the spirit of the law. Over time, this rigidity turned what was meant to be a path of life into a heavy burden. Faith became appearance, and justice a ritual. Jesus, emerging in this context, didn't come to dismiss the efforts of these teachers, but to confront the hardened heart behind the traditions. He showed that the true meaning of the Torah isn't in following 1,000 rules, but in loving with truth. Thus, every confrontation between him and the Pharisees revealed something greater, that the justice of the kingdom of God is not measured by conformity, but by inner transformation, a teaching that would prepare everyone for the revelation of the ultimate purpose of his mission. When Jesus went up the mountain and said, "Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets," he was doing something revolutionary. He didn't come to tear up what was written, but to reveal what was always there, the heart of God behind every commandment. While many sought to justify their actions by rules, Jesus showed that true obedience is born of love. He didn't come to add new burdens, but to free the people from the weight of a lifeless faith. In every word, in every gesture, he demonstrated the living fulfillment of the ancient promise. The kingdom Jesus proclaimed wasn't made of formalities, but of transformation. He looked beyond appearances and saw the interior, where faith and character truly reside. The justice he taught wasn't just to be spoken, but embodied in actions. Loving the enemy, forgiving 70 times 7, serving instead of dominating. All this was the fulfillment of the Torah in its purest form. The chosen then understands that following Jesus is to live what the scriptures always pointed to, the perfect union of law and love. And it's precisely in this new vision of justice that the kingdom of God is fully revealed. The justice of the kingdom is not a matter of appearance, but of essence. Jesus looked at the scribes and Pharisees and said, "Unless your righteousness surpasses that of the Pharisees and the teachers of the law, you will certainly not enter the kingdom of heaven." A bold, almost shocking statement. He wasn't devaluing the dedication of these men, but showing that the kingdom demands more than discipline. It demands inner transformation. True justice is that which begins in the heart and manifests in actions, not to be seen, but because it's natural for someone touched by God. Jesus was preparing the people for a new way of living, not based on cold commandments, but on living principles. He promised to demonstrate this in 6 practical examples, showing how the law, reinterpreted with love, leads to freedom. The chosen learns then that entering the kingdom isn't about knowing a lot, but about living with faith and sincerity. The justice of the kingdom is the reflection of a heart shaped by the Spirit, a heart that seeks to love as Christ loved. And it's on this journey of transformation that humanity finally finds the true meaning of being a child of God.